Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Tech in the Real World, and today we're going to be looking at an exciting new product from Samsung. So I've put the unboxing on the channel already. It's the Galaxy Book 5 Pro 360. So I've had this laptop stroke giant tablet for about a month now, or just a bit under. I got it when it first came out, and I've been using it as my daily laptop now for a couple of weeks. So I thought this was a good time to do my full review on it and let you know my thoughts about how I've been getting on with it and what kind of the laptop is for and how it performs in the daily real world situations which I've been using it in. So I've taken it to clients' offices, I've used it all over, and I'm going to give you my full thoughts on this in this video. So I think the first thing to talk about in this review is the design of this laptop itself, because this is a very unique designed laptop. So I know we've got a few two-in-one devices around now. We've got the Surface Book, which has a detachable keyboard. We've got the HP OmniBooks. We've got Lenovo laptops, and I think it's a Lenovo Yoga. I've not tried any of these, so this is my first sort of 360 device I've tried, and I've been really impressed with it so far. So I'll talk about that later in the performance side of things, but let's talk about the design. So Samsung have really outdone themselves with this design. I think this time it really does feel premium. It feels as premium as, say, a MacBook, which is why is sort of the benchmark I always use, because the build quality on Macs is so good and it lasts so long. And I think this feels as premium as a MacBook, and that is a good thing to say. So the sleek metal chassis gives it a lovely premium feel, and it's incredibly thin and lightweight. So this really shocked me. So this is a 16-inch screen, so it's a big screen. And if you pick up, say, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, you know about it. I tried the 16-inch MacBook Pro Max a few months ago, and that was really heavy, bulky, and felt just really, really big and hard to use every day. This doesn't. It feels really compact and nice. It does take up, a reasonable amount of room on the desk because it's 16 inches still, but it's nice and thin and light, which makes that 16-inch screen blend into the chassis much better, in my opinion. So the way it comes in, it just weighs 1.69 kilos, so it's not too heavy at all to carry around. I didn't notice it in my backpack really much at all, and it really does feel fine with that 16-inch display. So the model I have here is it's a bit confusing because there's quite a few models on the Samsung website. So when it first came out, there was only one really model, and I pre-ordered it and got a really good deal on this actually, now looking back at the website. So it's the Samsung Galaxy Book 5 Pro 360 I got. So there is actually a non-Pro 360 and there is a standard non-360 version as well, in two different variations. So quite a few variations. I suppose it's similar to the Mac lineup, even though they don't have a 360 lineup. It's similar how they have lots of variations in the spec and stuff. So not really that much of a problem really. It's just something to be aware of when you're buying this laptop, and we're going to talk about this now. So the Book 5 360 starts at around £1,250, which gets you 256 gigabytes of storage and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So it's the real base model if you want the 360 chassis. If you want the non-360 version, that goes even lower with the same spec. So you have to be careful here though, because the model you choose with the amount of storage you choose gives you ultimately the performance you're going to get, because it changes the processor options on the actual specifications. It's a very strange way of doing it. I don't know why Samsung do this, but I suppose they've got a lot of pre-made configurations, so it might be a way they do it in the factory, but it's not as configurable as, say, a MacBook, for example, or as a Microsoft Surface. It's a bit more sort of rigid on what you can choose. So I'm going to try and walk you through this the best I can. I'll show you the website, Samsung website, when I do the video to try and illustrate this. So you get, for the 256 gigabyte model, 16 gig of RAM, which you can't change. So you get the bottom of the range Intel CPU Ultra 7 and the Arc graphics. So this has got an integrated graphics with the Arc graphics and a Ultra 7 CPU. So it's a good CPU and it's a decent integrated graphics card. But if you pick the base storage, you get the bottom of the range graphics and processor. So if you're going to be using it for anything video related or gaming or anything like that, or anything more powerful than office work, then you're going to need to pick more than 256 gigabytes of storage. Because normally I would say go for that and use an external SSD, but because this time it affects the processing power, I would say it's worth spending more money on the internal storage to get the bigger, faster processor. So I went for the Book 5 Pro 360 with the top of the range 16-inch screen, 1 terabyte of storage, and the top of the range CPU in this, and the top of the range graphics card. and I got a good deal on it. It was 1599, this is now nearly a £2,000 laptop. So I saved myself 500 quid by pre-ordering it early. Just be aware as well, the non-Pro 365 Book 5 non-Pro 360 comes with a different display. It comes with a 15-inch, 15.6-inch display, and it's a full HD OLED display, but it's not a 2x OLED dynamic OLED, which is a bit different. So it's even more confusing. We'll try and walk you through this, but the display on the 16-inch model, the Pro model, is slightly better than the non-Pro model, just so you're aware. So it's very different to a MacBook. Buying a MacBook, this is very much, you have to be careful what you choose depending on what you want. So I would recommend the Pro model because you get the better display, you get the better CPU and the better graphics. So I think that is a middle ground. So I'll try and walk you through what you want to buy. So I think if you go for the if you want the Pro model but you don't want a terabyte of storage, if you look at the 512GB one, I think that's probably about the middle ground here, and you get a decent CPU and a decent art graphics with it. So I think, and you get the 16-inch 2x OLED display as well, which is amazing. So I would go for that kind of middle ground, that 512GB one, and that's about £1,500. So I think that gives you a good, a decent amount of spec for the money. It's not a cheap machine. There are cheaper machines than this around, but it's very well built. And at the moment, you do get a free TV with this as well, so that's very good. So that does save you a bit of money if you have for a TV. Just be aware of that. But that offer isn't on for long. So I just want people to be aware that if you choose the lowest memory options, you do get the lower CPU performance. So just be really careful which CPU and the memory configuration you get, because it does affect the daily use of the laptop and what you're going to do with it. I think overall the design is beautiful. I think the hinge is really good. I think the way you can flick it over and use it as a sort of tent style display for presentations is really effective, and it also turns into a giant 16-inch tablet, which I use quite a few times, more than I expected actually. And the hinge feels really strong and really secure. I never had any problems with it. It doesn't feel like it feels like it's going to last a long time. So that really does give me confidence in the laptop essentially. So let's talk about this display then. So let's talk about the display I've got on this laptop. So I've got the 16-inch Pro version, which comes with the what Samsung calls a 2x AMOLED display, and the resolution's around 2K. So if you go for the non-Pro model, which is the Book 5 360, you get a 15.6-inch display, which is an OLED display, but it's just a full HD OLED. So it's a bit lower resolution and a bit lower in quality-wise. So it's 120 Hz refresh rate on this one, and both I understand. So it's nice to have that fast refresh rate, and it really feels just like a MacBook Pro screen, and you really notice it going back to a 60 Hz screen. So it's really nice to have that 120 Hz refresh rate. So that's really good. That's becoming standard now on all these laptops because it makes a big difference when you're working in Word documents, video editing, and doing photo work as well. And this screen is beautiful. It's great for watching films on, it's great for doing video work on, it's great for doing photo work on. It's just a really, really good screen, good for gaming, and just, there's nothing wrong with this. I can't find a fault with this display. It's great. It's got deep blacks, as you expect from OLED displays, and I think it's probably a bit better than a MacBook Pro display, because this OLED technology is kind of getting better and better with these laptops. And also, I've not had any problems with burn-in. I've tried, I've been a bit nervous about this because I know there's an OLED burn-in issue going around, and I've not heard anyone have any problems with this, but I'd have set a screensaver to come on to stop this. So just be a bit more aware that this could happen, but I've not seen any specific features Samsung have integrated into the laptop to stop burn-in or mention anything about it, but I've not seen any issues with it either. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's just to be aware that it could possibly happen on the OLED display. So this display is great. I've got no complaints on display, and the touchscreen works really well. And if you flick it open and use it as a giant tablet, it works perfectly with the pen and how you can write on the screen, and it feels just like a tablet with a big 16-inch display. And Windows 11 is really good for stylus use. It's really designed for using with the stylus compared to sort of other devices. So say if you look at MacBooks, they don't have anything like this, and they can get an iPad, but it's nice to have a device all in one. You don't have to buy two separate devices. So I think that's a real big selling point of this laptop. So let's go over performance now, and I've been over the screen. So as I mentioned before, performance is very much dictated to depending on which model you buy. So if you go for the 256GB model, base model, you're going to get the slower CPU, and I haven't tried that. I don't know how well it performs. So I can only base it on the fastest one I've got here. But the power in this is the latest Intel Core 7 Ultra in this one, which I've got here, which is the 5.2 Pro 360 1TB model, so it's the top of the range CPU and integrated graphics. So I was a bit nervous about this because I know integrated graphics can be a bit rubbish, and in the past they've been terrible. So we had the ARC graphics from Intel, which were awful and performed horribly. So historically, in a Windows world, you need an integrated GPU like an NVIDIA one or an AMD one to work really well with video work and for gaming. So I thought, I'd heard good things about this ARC graphics, so I'd heard Intel put a lot of work into it and really pushing it as it's as good as an NVIDIA graphics card. So I thought, I'm going to try this because I really want to see how well this thinner light laptop performs with video work and also with gaming. And it's really surprised me. I've run DaVinci Resolve on this, Premiere Pro, After Effects, media encoding, and they all run really fast. And the laptop doesn't even get that hot. This thing is so thin, and the fan cooling system in it, is really efficient. It must be, because even the fan only comes on if you're pushing it really hard. So say I'm rendering a 4K 60 video, the fan will come on then, but it will turn off straight away as soon as it's finished rendering, and it doesn't get too hot at all. It's the same with gaming. It'll come on during the gaming session, but then it'll turn off as soon as you finish the gaming. So in everyday office use, it's really quiet, really nice to use. So performance-wise, I've really enjoyed using this laptop. So one of the questions I'm probably going to get asked is 16 gigabytes of RAM enough? So I think for everyday use, 16 gigabytes of RAM has been fine for me. So there's a caveat to this. If you're going to use it for video work, photo work, and also gaming, you're probably going to need a bit more. So Samsung do offer a 32 gigabyte version, which I can't seem to get hold of anywhere. I've tried, I've looked, and they don't seem to have it in stock anywhere. So I don't really know why, but 16 gigs is fine. It's been absolutely fine. I've done that video work on this in DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro, and I've only had an out of memory error once, I think, when I was doing a really intensive video. So it performs really well. To me, in my mind, it performed better than the Snapdragon X Elite CPU in the Microsoft Surface for video work. So I think the GPU, the Intel Arc GPU, is probably a bit faster than the Adreno GPU in the Snapdragon, but there are some benefits to the ARM world as well. But it just shows that Intel are really pushing boundaries of CPU performance now, and we're getting much more powerful Mac-like performance from these machines compared to what we would have got a few years back or even a year ago. So it does. The top of the range model does edit video well, and you're going to need to go for the top of the range model if you want to edit video, which is £1,900. And if you can find the 32 gigabytes of RAM, go for it, but you'll be fine with the 16 gigabytes of RAM as well, as I've been absolutely fine with this machine. And I'm using it as my main laptop at the moment. I'm really enjoying using it. So I was really actually surprised by this integrated graphics card, because I thought I'm going to need to buy an NVIDIA graphics card. I want to try sort of the Asus ProArt series, and they retail at nearly £3,000, some of those. And I think they're really loud and heavy and big fans, and that's what puts me off. I don't want a big, loud, heavy machine to take to client offices, and I want something thin and light that can do edit videos and do reasonably complex timelines fine. And this machine does that. It does everything I need it to do. It's performed really well, and I can't complain at all. So it's worked for me just like a MacBook. So if you want a Windows laptop that can be used for content creation and for photo work and office work as well, this is a great all-in-one, all-rounder machine. If you're doing anything else like 3D rendering or anything like that, it may be a bit underpowered on the side of the 60 gigabytes of RAM, and the graphics card might start to get pushed, so you might want to look at an integrated graphics card then. But from what I do, which is video work, After Effects, Adobe After Effects, and Photoshop stuff, it worked absolutely fine. If you do have a lot of tabs open, I say I did get that out of memory error once, so you might want to think about the 32 gigabyte version as well. But that's just one thing that happened. But most of the time, it was absolutely fine. Just to be aware of that, though. So how does a 360 mode work? So I'll demonstrate this. So basically, you initially just flip the laptop over, and you can have it closed on top of the keyboard. So you can use it as a tablet or use it as a tent mode for presentations. And I found using it for both was really good, and I had no problems with it at all. The hinge was because, as I've mentioned, is really strong and really effective. So far, so good on the 360. I've never had a 360 laptop, and this has really converted me, I think. And I do wish Apple would work on one now, because I think it's time for Apple to produce something a bit different. The MacBook Pro feels a bit outdated to me. We've had the same design now for quite a while, so it's nice to have something a bit different. And I'm enjoying trying different laptops out and using them in my creative office and for my video work. I think it's good to have. I've really enjoyed going back to Windows for a bit, actually, because historically I was a Windows user before I came Mac. I do love Macs. You know, I love Macs, but it's nice to have this different options to choose from in the Windows world compared to what you can in the Mac world. So let's talk about the trackpad and keyboard and trackpad, sorry, now, and they're both really good. So a lot of people, I've seen a lot of reviews about the keyboard saying they didn't like the keyboard, and to me it did take a bit of getting used to because it is fairly large. So it's a 16-inch chassis, so it's a long chassis. It's quite a wide chassis. So it's got a full-size number pad on the right-hand side and a very large trackpad. So I found the keyboard's quite set far back. So for me, it worked really well. I like typing like that, and I could pull the laptop quite close to me and type on it, and I could type really well on it, and I enjoyed using it. So compared to the, you know, it's a good keyboard. I've not really had a bad keyboard on a laptop yet, so I enjoyed using the keyboard on it. It's not got much of a spongy feel to it. It's a very firm keyboard. So if you like a sort of a softer typing keyboard, this may not be for you, but I found it a really useful keyboard. So the trackpad being that large, I liked because I could drag video files around quite easily with my finger and didn't have to plug an external mouse in as much. I didn't really catch the trackpad much when I was typing. I saw reviews saying they did. I didn't really have that problem, so I found that fine. So overall, the trackpad and keyboard were really good for me, and I actually used them more than the external mouse on this first laptop that I've actually done that in. So let's get on to battery life. So Samsung quote a ridiculous battery of about 25 hours, just like the MacBook Pro, but unfortunately in my testing I found the battery life not to be up to scratch. So this is one area where the laptop did let me down. So I've had this on the Microsoft Surface 7 as well, is that we just don't seem to be able to get decent battery life as well as good as MacBooks out of these Windows machines. So if you just charge this fast charging, 65-watt charging, I fully charged it up, took it out to a client's office, did general office work on it, a bit of photo editing, a bit of video editing. I got probably 5 hours out of it, 5 to 6 hours, or maybe a bit longer. And then I used it down in my other house on the battery mode on doing some intensive video work, and I got about 2 or 3 hours out of it. So pushing it really hard in performance mode, you're going to cut that battery life right down to 3 or 4 hours. So, which is fine because you're in the house, you're going to plug it in anyway if you're doing canned lab. Just something to bear in mind. You're not going to be sat on the train for 24 hours or on an aeroplane writing on this because it's just not going to do that. Watching video, it didn't drain that fast, so you might be able to get 12, 13 hours out of it on video playback. But for my real world testing on anything else, it just doesn't live up to what Samsung advertised, just so you're aware. And I want to be honest about this, because if you're buying it for the battery side of things, it's not the best performing battery laptop out there, I don't think, but it's somewhere in between. So connectivity wise, everything is what you expect. You've got 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, you've got a Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, a headphone jack, and a micro SD card reader, which is the bane of my life, because I don't know why they keep putting micro SD card readers on these laptops, because they don't do anything. I don't have a micro SD card reader camera. I use a full-size DSLR. I need an SD card reader, so please can we have an SD card reader on these laptops, just like the MacBooks? That was only my only bugbear with it, but yes, connection wise we're fine. So on the software side of things, this software, it runs the latest version of Windows 11, which provides a very smooth user experience, and everything works perfectly fine on it. So Samsung do bundle some apps on the machine itself, like Samsung Notes, and they integrate well with the Samsung devices. I don't really use them that much, but they are there if you need them, and there's something like Samsung Notes, and they all seem to run fine, but you can remove them if you don't want them. It comes pre-installed with McAfee, which is a bit of bloatware you can just take off if you don't want it. I found the S Pen to be pretty good. It's nice that they include it in the box, because a lot of manufacturers wouldn't do that, and it's just nice you don't have to buy it separately. It comes with like a small charger and a reasonably short cable, so you may want to buy a USB-C cable as well. So in conclusion then, is this worth buying over a MacBook Pro? And I think actually yes, it is a good alternative to a MacBook Pro. So it has got a bit of a weird specification, and Intel aren't quite there yet with competing with the M4 CPU performance, so you still get a better value out of the MacBook performance per pound. So 1599 MacBook Pro is still going to perform better than this machine in most tasks. But it's good, it's a good laptop, and you've got that 360 hinge, which Apple don't offer. The OLED screen is better, in my opinion, than the Apple MacBook Retina display on the Pro, but even though it's a great display, you're not going to be disappointed with it. And I think the days of needing a dedicated GPU are numbered, because this Intel Arc graphics is fantastic, in my opinion. I would say the main competition for this laptop are the HP OmniBook and the Microsoft Surface 7. I have a Surface 7 here. I think it competes really well with it. It doesn't have the 360 design. I've went for the normal laptop design, but obviously you can buy the 360 design, but then you have to get a smaller screen. So it just depends on what you want, and have a look at these devices. I've not tested out the Surface, so I don't know how well it performs, but I was really impressed with this Intel CPU. I think it performs as well as the Snapdragon CPU, if not a bit better, and it runs really cool and quiet in my opinion. So the overall design and performance and everything, and how it integrated into my workflow was really good. So I think basically whether you're going to be typing up documents, watching your favourite videos on it, or sketching out your latest ideas on the screen with the pen, or even doing a bit of video editing, it's a good laptop and it's going to do everything you need it to do. The only downside to it is the battery life, in my opinion, and the price. It's an expensive machine. It's not the cheapest machine, but it does feel premium and it does feel like it's going to last quite a while. So that's it for today's review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's been helpful if you're looking at this laptop or looking at a new laptop. And if you'd like any questions answering about this laptop, Galaxy 5 Book Pro 360, just drop me a comment down below. So let's have a discussion. Get involved in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this review. If there's anything I've missed, let me know, or anything that's not quite right, just drop me a message and I'll get back to you. So please, if you need any advice about which laptop to buy, I'm happy to give that as well. So just get involved down below in the comments and we'll get into this. Thank you very much.